OLED, OLED, OLED. This week I got a lot of OLED questions like LG OLED, what's happening next year? How's it going to be better? Or, well, LG, what are they going to do to counteract Samsung's next generation QNED? Is it still OLED or is it MicroLED or RGB OLED versus LG's TV WOLED? Why aren't we using the smartphone RGB OLED? And for our UK viewers, I had questions about, well, in the UK, you don't get some of the models we get in the US. Do I have recommendations for UK or EU viewers? And yes, I do at various budgets. So let's jump right in and answer these questions. Knock them out. Stop the FOMO. Welcome to another weekly Q&A session, question and answers. Every Thursday, I put out a call of every questions posted on the community board, and more often than not, I'll even answer it directly on the board, and I'll select a few of the good ones for these weekly Q&As. Today, I'm going to change the format just a little bit so that I can get through more questions more quickly, and hopefully in the same amount of time, we can get through as many of your questions as possible. So let's jump right into it. Eureka asks, I would love a tier list of TVs from 2017, 2018, and 2019, since I don't like to be at the end of technology where everything is expensive and obsolete the next year. Interesting question, Eureka, and let me answer that real quick. In 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020, OLED was and continues to be on top of the pack in terms of pure blacks, deep blacks, like it's self-emissive, so nothing gets blacker than OLED. HDR performance continues to be excellent. What limits OLED really is its ultimate brightness. Its specular highlights will be limited to 1,000 nits for the best TVs like the Panasonic 2000 series, and well, it won't get higher than that, and that's only if you get the Panasonic. Generally, the LG and the Sony OLEDs, 600 to 700 to 800 nits at best is where your peak brightness will be, and that's not a problem if you're dark room watching. In a dark room, 800 nits from an OLED with deep blacks is absolutely fine. Now, it's the other technologies on the LCD side that we can tier it, right? So in 2018, the Q9FN and Q8FN from Samsung ruled the roost. Nothing came close. And at the highest end, the Sony Master series was quite amazing with its Master Backlight Drive series. But then come 2019, it appears that Samsung reached the pinnacle of its QLED technology because here in 2020, Samsung really hasn't innovated beyond where it got us in 2019. And Sony actually took a few steps back in its LCD TVs, preferring to really hold still on LCD technology, not increasing dimming zones, and completely eliminating the Master series on the LCD TVs unless you go 8K. And the 8K TV is a whole different beast from Sony. It's super bright, high resolution, but blooming is terrible. So I don't know what Sony's doing, but I think as far as LCD TVs are concerned, 2019 to me felt like the peak. 2020 is the year of mini LEDs. So TCL is expected to introduce an amazing active matrix mini LED backlit LCD TV. And that should raise our performance a bit more. So the tiered for 2020 would be, and this is a prediction only since we don't have the Vidrian active matrix mini LED TV from TCL yet, but we expect that Vidrian active matrix to be on top. But that's a prediction. It may end up not being on top. So as far as technology is concerned, yes, active matrix mini LED is the top tier for backlight technology in 2020, but then Samsung appears to be embracing that as well. So in 2021, you may end up seeing Samsung quantum dot based TVs with mini LED backlight technologies. Looking forward to the 2021 CES and see how much of that will come through with Samsung. And these next set of questions are about OLEDs. So I'm going to consolidate all the OLED questions. Boom, 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 boom. We'll start at a high level. I'm going to combine King Darian 95's question with Wave 111. King Darian asks, With Chinese OLED on the horizon and Samsung working on QNED, what will be LG's next move? InkJet printed OLED, MicroLED, or something else? And Wave 111 adds, what kind of developments are you expecting to see on 2021 OLEDs compared to 2020 models? Great questions, all related, and all require the understanding that we're talking about two companies, LG Electronics and LG Display. LG Display manufactures OLED panels for everybody else out there, including LG Electronics. LG Display makes OLEDs for Sony, Panasonic, Philips, Hisense, whoever, right? And they're in charge of improving OLED panel technology year to year. So when OLED panels get brighter for everybody, it's because of LG Display. LG Display's next move is to lower the cost of manufacturing. Remember, LG Display only does one thing. They make LG OLED raw panels for everybody else. For Sony, for Philips, for Panasonic, for Vizio, whoever wants an OLED TV, LG Display will supply them with a raw panel. So what they need to do is to reduce the price, and that's their next step. InkJet Printed OLED goes towards producing less expensive OLED panels. InkJet Printed OLED is not expected to raise the performance of OLED. It won't make it brighter. It won't give it better color volume. It will make it cheaper, less wasteful, right? So LG Display's next steps, you've mentioned it, probably is to try to find a way to deploy InkJet Printed OLED so they can lower the price of an OLED TV in the face of the Chinese flood of OLEDs to come in 2024. That to me is not much of a future. Your only focus is manufacturing efficiency. They don't have any technologies on the horizon. LG Display has no money. As a matter of fact, it's so sad. Their 10th generation Paju plant has been delayed indefinitely because they're broke. This Paju manufacturing was supposed to introduce more volume of 8K OLED panels for other manufacturers. It's not online, so we will continue to see very expensive 8K OLED TVs because there's just not enough facilities to create and to manufacture 8K panels. LG Display is in trouble, frankly. I don't see any new technologies, and even their current technology, 10th generation, is stuck on hold until they get more cash. LG Electronics, on the other hand, is different. What are their next steps? LG Electronics actually announced in an earlier video, I think I mentioned this, they're looking into micro-LED. They see the limits of OLED performance. They're not stupid, right? They're out there shopping, just like Samsung. In my last week's video, what did I say? Samsung's out there looking for mini LED backlight partners in Taiwan. LG Electronics is doing the exact same thing. They are shopping in Taiwan for something to compete with QNED and QD-OLED. And what is that? Well, it's a quantum dot color filter on the front and some form of mini LED backlighting. We don't know what it will be. Right now, OLED technology is their flagship. They're looking for something in the horizon that could compete with, well, Samsung's QD-OLED and QNED. Everybody knows QD-OLED and QNED will beat current OLED from LG Display. That's what it's designed to do. Better color filter, more brighter backlighting technology. And Samsung knows this. That's why it's investing in this. LG Electronics recognizes this, and they are also looking for these partners in Taiwan and China. So what's in store for LG? LG Electronics, most likely mini LED backlighting and some application of quantum dot color filters. As soon as LG Electronics finds a partner from Taiwan or China, they will incorporate the latest QD color filter with some form of mini LED backlighting in order to face Samsung's QD-OLED or QNED. Because if LG Electronics doesn't, they will end up just like Sharp. Their TV sales will be entry level. Why? Well, you're stuck with OLED, and the Chinese are coming with budget entry-level OLED in a few years. But as we found out recently with Samsung's delay of their own micro-LED launch in the US and around the world this year, it's hard. Micro-LED manufacturing is so hard, the yields are so low that LG, this is not viable for LG Electronics. We can forget about it for now. It is just way too expensive. Yields are terrible. It's not in LG's future unless they find a way to figure out the solution, but that's not their thing. LG Electronics does not have a micro-LED research facility. Micro-LED is right now being handled by Taiwanese suppliers as well as American companies like Rohini, right? We interviewed the CEO of Rohini out there in Idaho, and he is very much at the forefront of micro-LED manufacturing and micro-LED problem solving to bring down the cost of micro-LED to more manageable consumer-friendly levels. So LG Electronics, I am pretty certain, will be introducing some form of mini LED backlighting plus quantum dot color filter as its next generation after OLED. Because anything else would just perform less than OLED. Doesn't make any sense. And thus concludes part 1 of our 2-part Q&A. It went a little bit longer than I expected, but no worries, I'll post part 2 later this week. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stop the FOMO.